we're going to go
Thank
ahead
you.
and call the Public Works for August 27th meeting to order. Go ahead and accept the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions that need to be added? Hearing none, we'll move right on along. Let's go to the minutes. I need a motion to approve both the June 21st and the August 15 minutes of 2024 meeting.
Motion. Second.
Okay, there's been a proper motion and a proper second for A and B minutes, and any discussion on the minutes at all? Hearing none, is everybody ready to vote? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes of June 21st and August 15th, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, it passes unanimously on that. Thank you. We have citizens' comments. We have one signed up, and Jay, one of our loyal public works guys that used to come for a long time, and then he disappeared. We're looking at the looking. You're looking good.
We put him on
So-
the committee.
Yeah, we knew, that's right.
I had to tell my boss, I said, I gotta go to City Hall, I'll be back and working. We just have problems. So, yeah, I'm here for the 7:00 meeting for Jamie, but I saw your agenda, I figured I'd speak on some of this.
Okay, great. No, at all.
The light sync up deal, I don't know where you guys are with that, but obviously my concern is Center Point. Up there by the Tractor Supply in Vietnam and stuff like that. So I did some analysis several months ago at the end of the school year for Pope John Paul, which was in May-ish timeframe, I guess. And how, because it's just a 2-lane road, but we got this center turn lane, but the center turn lane is not a through after Vietnam. You have to kind of veer off and come back in. So a lot of people in the morning, particularly during the morning time of dropping off kids to Pope John Paul, obviously they want to come from Main Center Point to go left on Caldwell. So they just got that little bitty turn lane because they got so much room after Vietnam. So the light for the turn doesn't hold very long.
Okay.
And so the cars still back up in the through lane on the right-hand side. So a lot of people still just want to go through. I'm not saying it just because I want to go through. A lot of people just want to go through. So obviously there's many ways to skin the cat. And obviously the one way is to allow the left turn signal to go longer. Say maybe 20 seconds. Does 20 seconds allow 6 more cars through? Just during that 2-hour window or something like that. Or do we make the center turn lane that people turn on to Vietnam going towards Nashville? Do we make that all, take out the yellow lines there and make it a straight through so they get a choice to either turn on Vietnam or Caldwell, and that gives them a longer straight stretch, that center lane, so it frees up more on the right lane. Like I'm saying, there's more ways to skin a cat, so I figured I didn't know where the sync up was because last time I stood there and checked it out in May, I stood there for a little bit, parked my car over there and stood and kind of watched the traffic light and watched the traffic and kind of saw, and this was in May, so I didn't know what was done since May, if anything, but I figured the quick fix would be, can we add a few extra seconds to allow a few more cars left turn just during the hours of going to school, which whatever that is, a half hour before or a half hour after, or whatever the rules of thumb you guys use on that. That was my 2 cents on that. So,
Okay.
and my next thing is I saw in the last packet, the last page of the main packet was paving budgeted and completed. So is this budgeted from starting July 1st? And so does that mean we have only done 3 lane miles from July 1st and we got, 47 to go? And why are we off track? It seems like we're off track there. And my other question is, how much is a lane mile nowadays? It used to be 80,000 last I knew, but it's probably 100 now. And then when everybody talks about 300 miles of lanes here, is that lane miles or roads? So if you have a 2-lane road, 12 to 15 feet wide each way, is that 1 mile or is that 2 lane miles? How is that 300 miles calculated? Those are my questions and comments. Thank you so much.
we'll put that down on the other agenda items, and we'll be able to respond to that. Some of which I think that the committee can respond to, and Sarah, I think we might have to ask you some questions on it, because actually I don't know on the paving one. I don't, you guys may know an answer right for you right now. But thank you for those comments. And of course, I noticed that Alderman Goodwin had come in, and nice to have you, and good to see you. And so, okay, any other citizens' comments? And hearing none, we'll move right on along to the ordinances and resolutions. First reading is reading of Resolution 2024-27, a resolution to adopt a private outdoor fee-based activity permit and policy in the city parks as recommended by the Board of Parks and Recreation. I need a motion.
Motion. Second.
Okay, there's been proper motion, proper second discussion.
I'd like for Andy to give us a brief summary.
Sure.
Can, and also tell you there is in your packet a memo that we put together that went to the Parks Board. Kind of bullet point details on page 21 of your packet. Basically, this is something we've been working on for several months to try to help us get a handle on activities that aren't just, we started to have so many people come to us and ask, can I give yoga classes? Can I give baton twirling classes? Can I give hitting lessons? Can I do this, do that? And this is a way to kind of put some teeth to rules and regulations where they're having to kind of go through the same process that people that run leagues do. It's not really to keep them from doing it. It's just to make sure we know who's doing it, who's making money in the park, who's using our facilities, and make sure that if they damage those facilities, we got somebody to hold accountable. One thing to call to your attention that this between the mayor and Lance and kind of us kicking it all around, we were able to kind of add other activities to it, like on page 12. I'm sure you all have seen many times dock builders will just show up at the park sometimes and build their dock for 2 or 3 days and then ship it over to Mount Juliet or down the river to Hendersonville. So this will help us have a permit that they will have to, just like an electrician or anybody who's building a house. I get it. We're in a unique situation with the lake and all it means to our city. So I understand having to have that, but we also want to make sure they leave it as they found it and give us the ability to know what's going on.
All righty, thank you very much for that. Any other further discussion on this? And actually, I've seen them building, so now I can say, I was always wondering, now I know what that is. I just figured.
Yeah, they're good. They're good businesses,
Yeah.
and they do a lot
That's
for the community sometimes too. But there's times when they might have left ruts, and we didn't know they were.
Right.
They could come in and be gone, and we might even not know they're there,
Yeah.
depending on what we have going on.
Have you estimated the revenue that this would bring in?
No, not really. I mean, we don't have. I would say I would expect this policy to be used less than 20 times a year, honestly. Maybe more. It just depends. We're just so unique in that we don't have a community center. A lot of cities that have this thing in place, this would be for people to come in from the community and give classes in a rec center or things like that. But people, since COVID, people have just wanted to use our outdoor space, and it may not be they're not trying to rent a field. They just want to meet people and do a fitness class for moms in the parking lot. But they're making money in the park, and they need to have insurance, and if we know about it, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, and one day after we're all gone, we may get a center and we'll have this on the books.
Never
They
know.
can look back at it and say, well, either far-thinking individuals.
Vision.
Yeah, visionaries, yeah.
Since we've opened the pickleball courts, I've already had 3 people call our office about being able to give lessons there.
Wow.
So you got 2 choices for those type people. We could probably hire them as a part-time person to do our own classes and have people sign up, or they may just want to utilize this seasonal permit potentially.
All right,
I need lessons.
yeah. A little pickleball, I might try that this summer, or in the fall when it cools off a little bit. It's like 100
Let's-
degrees.
Let's get the over there. when you do
Yeah,
fire.
for real, man.
It's a fire department.
I'm with you, brother. All right.
Push on that.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion on resolution 2024-27? All right, all in favor of resolution 2024-27 is a resolution to adopt a fee-based activity permit and policy in the city park as recommended by the Parks Board. Signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, it passes unanimously. Now, this just goes directly to the board. It didn't have another committee like general or anything, does it?
No, sir, it'll go to them in 2 weeks.
All right, we'll see it again in 2 weeks at the Board of Mayor and Alderman. Okay, this number 2 is a reading of resolution 2024-29, a resolution authorizing the city's Department of Parks and Rec to apply for a property conservation grant with public entity partners. And I need a motion.
Motion.
And second, there's been a proper motion, proper second, discussion.
This is a grant we have applied for and received for the last 3 years, I think. We've used it and working with the IT department to add security cameras to our different parks and also to buy security fencing for when we need to kind of fence off areas or have construction projects or have events. So it's come in handy. The money, the matching funds are already appropriated in the budget in the grant, small grant line item that they have.
Super.
So are you gonna use that money for additional cameras?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you already know where you're gonna place them,
Rugby's going to be one of the first places.
that new bathroom.
Mhm.
Does the golf course have cameras?
They do. We're in good shape there.
Okay, thank you.
Love it.
I do too. I'm glad that we were able to do that. Are we gonna, is this one of these kind of things we can continue to ask every year?
So far,
Okay, good
it's
deal.
been
Don't
good.
jinx us.
Yeah, I know. Don't we? All right, any other discussion on resolution 2024-29? Hearing none. All in favor of the resolution of 2024-29, which is a resolution authorizing the city's Department of Parks and Rec to apply for the property conservation grant and public entity partners, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, it passes unanimously to the Board of Mayor and Alderman in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we are on to other agenda items and the one we always love to talk about, trash collection update. How's it going?
Well, we initiated our new contract for July 1st, and this graph starts July 15th.
Had a bump.
So yes, there was a bump, but comparatively to the last time we initiated a new contract, this has been very smooth comparatively. And there is a positive trend that we see, and even within the last week or two, they've dropped the daily reported misses are below any that we've seen before, I believe. I mean, we're down to like 7 and 8 reported misses a day, which is really a significant improvement over our
Yeah.
service level previously. So
Yeah,
I'd say it's going well.
Well, I do too. I know on my end, as far as an alderman, I've had this, it's been a long time. I think I had one call that they missed. And I think it's because that they forgot to get it there at their normal time and they were already going in, they already came in the street and, you know, they were gone. They just didn't get the trash out
Yeah.
like they should. I was trying to get mine out the night before.
Yeah.
And So anyway, that's great. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the trash collection?
Yeah, we had several complaints on New Shackle, and I think it was this week that the pump, their garbage runs on Friday,
Mhm.
and it wasn't picked up on Saturday. So the instructions that we need to give citizens, if they miss the pickup on the day, they need to go online to our website and file that if they miss it the day of collection.
Mhm.
Because some of them were waiting, says, well, I guess they'll pick it up the next day, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. So Friday's pickup on New Shackle was not picked up on Saturday, of course, not on Sunday, but until Monday.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the problem with the Friday pickup. You know, we don't have an extra day in there to pick it up. But,
Yeah.
so we should tell citizens, if they miss it on the pickup date, to go on the city website on that line and record it as a missed, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So for the first few weeks, really, because there were changes with service days and there were changes with, some people still did not know about the new requirements. There's some compliance issues. We were telling people, to not call unless their trash had not been collected by 8 p.m. just for those first few weeks, because they were used to, let's say they came on Friday at 9 o'clock usually, previously. Well, they changed all the routes so that they may not come till 3:30 now, and if they call at 9, it's not actually a miss. But now that we're in the group and people know what their collection day is, they know what the requirements are. So now, yes, if they miss them on their regular collection day, they should report it. And a lot of times we're collecting them the same day.
And we're still not picking up garbage at apartments.
That's
Correct?
correct, yes. Yes, if they're commercially
Commercially labeled by the tax assessor.
and single ownership, unless they're duplex, for our ordinance, duplex qualified.
Okay, excellent.
All right, now let's go, we get an update on, a verbal update and then maybe a question about what Jay was talking about is the light synchronization program. If you can give us an update on that.
Sure, so, the project that we have right now with, TDOT, the local programs project, that, I'll just provide a brief update and then I guess I'll answer that question.
Okay.
So currently we are working on providing the additional documents that TDOT requires to move, from this phase to construction. So our consultant is completing the construction estimate based on the quantities. So they're putting together a quantity table, they'll do the estimate, we'll submit those to TDOT, and then we'll go through the process of the bid book and all of those things.
So is that called the design phase?
We are in the design.
So the design has not been approved by the state?
The preliminary design has been approved by the state. The preliminary
So-
design,
From our last meeting, have we seen some movement?
a little bit.
A
Yes.
little bit.
Yes, we have. They approved that much. There were no more discrepancies that were noted with right of way or issues like that. So,
So are we still hopeful to begin construction first quarter?
yes,
And it shouldn't take long, should it?
the construction, we'd probably do a year construction timeline, but I doubt it would take that long, to be honest.
Okay.
And then as far as timings, of course, we did implement some new timings along Indian Lake Boulevard, New Shackle Island, and Main Street. That particular project does not include Center Point, and we didn't implement new timings there in May when we did the rest of them, because when the new signal was installed for the 386 ramp, those 3 signals were coordinated at that time. But we had received since school started, we had received some other notifications and concerns. So we are also we're evaluating 2 other school zone signals as well, but we are evaluating that one for any additional changes to improve during those school pickup and drop off times.
Okay, so thank you very much and thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Well, she already knew it. I
Yeah,
never
but
even
still.
done.
Yeah.
But still, thank you for coming and letting us know.
No, she's on.
Uh, I don't expect anything less from you. You're awesome and you do great work. All our city staff does. So.
Mr. Chairman, I can
Yes.
see an improvement, can't you?
Yes.
The,
Oh, yeah.
the,
Yeah.
what you've done on the old equipment seems to be working pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I mean, without a doubt, that's the case.
it's improving situation.
Just have to get you to move real close to City Hall, you know, get your family and everything, pack it, leave, and come on in. That's it. All right. Any other questions on light synchronization, all right, this afternoon? Maybe next month we'll have some discussion for you. We're all just trying to keep cool in this weather. I'm telling you, because it's unreal. Saunders Sperry, the bid result. Oh, yeah, that's a, yeah.
So that one we, at the request of the committee, we put that out for, we actually did an RFP, request for proposal,
Right.
to kind of provide some guidelines, but allow some flexibility in what's proposed.
Right.
The only submission that we received was from the contractor who constructed the boardwalks. And it was the same price that they had provided before, which was, it was $213,000,
Okay.
$211,000 to retrofit that with the cable.
Well, this, when that was published, I kind of shepherded it around. It's closed now. Can you extend it?
It's closed, yeah.
All right.
All righty. Any discussion on that?
Well, I have a question on Greenway, since we're on that.
Sure.
And I talked to Director Gilly about it, but if someone wanted to donate a park bench, what's the procedure that we would go through on that? You know, like to honor someone or something, what would we do to how do we go through that process?
I think that Director Gilly's probably the best person to provide a response to that. We don't typically receive donations from Public Works, so
Okay.
I'm not really sure what
If
that
you,
process is.
if you want it to, if you want it to be like a memorial bench, we pick out the, put it on a map where it's gonna go, tell the Parks Board and have them bless it. If it's gonna have wording or anything on it, if it's just a bench, we can put that out anytime we want. And then there's two ways to do it. We've had people donate money that we then get appropriated into our budget to purchase the bench. And we take care of the whole thing from start to finish. Or we can guide the people how to buy the bench from the company and have it shipped to us. And then we put it together and install it.
But it'd be cheaper to go through the city,
You would save
No.
the sales tax.
sales tax.
Mhm.
And so do you envision all the benches being the same?
Not necessarily, because different people that come to us and want to buy them, some want to spend $600 and some want to spend $2,000.
Okay.
So there's some that are a little different. Some want metal, some want what we do try to make sure is that we get a material that will last the longest and be the least amount of maintenance. We don't want to have to go around and repaint or
Okay.
replace
I'll
panels.
tell them to call you then.
That'd be fine.
All right. Good question. Any other, how about anything on the Greenway, anybody? Since we're really on that. Okay, we'll go on down to an update on the residential speed limit. Do we have any response or update on that? Information?
So I might defer to Alderman Robertson. You requested that we have this again for discussion.
Okay,
Of course, we have discussed previously the desire to change residential speed limits to 25 miles per hour. And so I believe this discussion is just kind of building on that and maybe evaluating how to move forward.
all right.
Yeah, and I want to thank the staff. They have, it was my hope that we would have a draft ordinance tonight, or resolution. But the more we got into it, the more I talked to staff, you know, it's, the devil is in the details. So we want to do this right. I've got something, because there is precedent for this.
Okay,
Mayor Cooper from Nashville introduced this commitment to neighborhoods, and I printed off a copy of what they did, what Metro did for you. But they have implemented a 25 mile an hour as, well, let me get back. Right now, the de facto speed limit in neighborhoods is 25 miles an hour. That's all of the new subdivisions that have been built probably within the last 20 years.
Okay.
They're all 25 miles an hour. So the de facto speed limit is 25 miles an hour. But the default speed limit in the city is 30 in neighborhoods. So what I would like to do, I would like to move the default speed limit more to the de facto. In other words, I would like for all neighborhoods to have 25 mile an hour speed limits. It doesn't make it, I can't justify an equity argument that an older subdivision should have a higher speed limit than a newer subdivision. So in the document that you have, and I've given Sarah one, I'll give Jesse this, the mayor of Nashville in 2000 made the default, a commitment to make the default speed limit in neighborhood streets 25 miles an hour. And that's been done. It was quite expensive, $260,000 to change all the signs. Of course, Metro's bigger than Hendersonville, but still, and what they did, they limited it to what they called as local, is it local, Sarah? A local street.
Mhm.
And we have three types of streets. We have arterials, collectors, and public streets, right?
Yeah.
So what they did, the mayor limited it to public streets and changed it to 25 miles an hour. And the reason they did it, they were having a lot of hit and run accidents. People on bikes get run over and pedestrians. According to the analysis that I've looked at, they think it's been successful in slowing down some speeds in the neighborhoods. So they've taken it to the next step. The second page, they have extended it from local streets to also a pilot project for collector streets. Sarah, you want to define, maybe the public doesn't know, the difference between a public and a collector street?
Sure. So a collector street, for example, would be like Indian Lake Road, Sanders Ferry Road, Walton Ferry Road, those major streets that all of the local streets kind of dump into to then gain access to arterials like Main Street.
And in Nashville, I'm not sure because we haven't done, or I've not done the survey here, but in Nashville, a lot of the collectors were 35 and 40 miles an hour, and some of them 45 miles an hour. So they have, in the pilot project, they picked out 10 collector streets, and they reduced the speed limit 5 miles an hour in each of those collector streets, just to see if it would slow down traffic. So they've extended, I guess, they were so pleased with the initial making the default speed limit 25 for just locals that now they have extended it, and they're studying the results in the pilot program for collectors. So really and maybe Jesse, this might be good for you to talk about, either doing it through a resolution or ordinance. And you want to go through the difference, how you do it in a resolution, which is just one reading, or an ordinance, which is 2 readings. So you want to give us just a brief.
Sure, yeah. When Alderman Robertson had talked about a resolution, and we'd kind of progress into making a default speed limit. And when we looked at the municipal code, Lance Ray, our city attorney, looked at the municipal code. It's listed in the municipal code as 30 miles an hour as default. So if we were going to amend the municipal code, then that would require an ordinance rather than a resolution if we were to change to a default speed limit of 25 miles an hour. So as we kind of dug into the details and thought about what are the mechanisms that we process this, it looks like if the default speed limit is going to be changed, and that would happen through ordinance rather than a simple resolution because it amends the municipal code.
How would we do it through a resolution? Or can it be done through, can we lower the speed limit on,
Not as a default. If we're going to change the default because that's in the municipal code, that would require an ordinance. It would require 2 readings. So we would have to do an ordinance to amend the municipal code. And since the municipal code lists 30 miles an hour as a default, if that were to change, it would require an ordinance.
so is there a way to change local streets without changing the default? The speed limit on local streets without changing the default?
That really should be an ordinance as well.
Okay.
If you're doing something like this, it would be an ordinance as well.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah, if you
I mean,
wanted to go
I
to,
would be in favor of it being default, really. I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I'm for it. But I think that, usually when something's with the code, it's gotta be ordinance instead of resolution.
if we were to go out and do a street or 2 streets based on an
That's
engineering
it.
study, that doesn't require an ordinance. But changing it, the default standard would.
And I don't want to do 1 or 2 streets because that could show subjectivity. Someone could say, well, you lowered theirs, but why didn't you lower mine? So I don't want to get into that. I think that the ordinance is the right idea to go, but I wanted to ask the committee, what you thought, and if you would authorize me, Mr. Chairman, to work with the staff and come up with an ordinance to make the default,
Okay.
25 miles an hour, and I'll commit that if the staff will agree to work with me, to bring it back to the next Public Works ordinance
Okay.
for us to consider.
All right, Mike, how do you feel about that?
So we're still gonna have signs though, right?
Have to change signs if they're 30 to 25.
Okay. Because if we change it in an ordinance in the municipal code, that's not what people see. So I think we would also want to have signs.
That's correct. And the reason why we need a default, Sarah, why do we need a default speed limit of a limit? Because there are some streets that have no markings on them, correct?
That's correct.
So that's why we need a default. But all of those streets that have a 30 mile an hour local, that have a 30, we would have to replace, and that would require a fiscal note. And that would be, the staff would have to come up with an estimate for us to consider. How much is it going to cost? And do we want to do it? Do we want to flash cut it, or do we want to do it in phases? That would be something. You don't know how many signs, do you, Sarah?
I don't,
So which is-
for local streets. We don't have that. We don't have that yet.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Not yet.
Well, I like it. Streets that become a problem, you can add the signs anytime you want.
Yeah.
And there are some arterial streets that already have 25 miles an hour limits. And I'm thinking of Drake's Creek Road through Durham Farms.
It's a
That's
collector.
That's a collector.
Mhm.
Drake's Creek is a collector.
Mhm. Yeah.
Huh.
You don't get many arterials. Those are really like Main Street and 386.
Okay.
Those are our
Okay.
arterials through Hendersonville.
So I wouldn't want whatever we do to change the status quo. So if Mr. Chairman, if you'll instruct me
Yes.
to work on that and bring
Okay.
it back to the committee, work with the staff, I'll volunteer to do that.
All right, well, thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah, if it's okay, I would like to ask Alderman Roberson to work with staff on this ordinance, and then we should have something prepared at our next meeting for Public Works to take a look at and analyze it, and then if there's anything that we need to add or delete or anything like that, we can do it there, and then see what the vote would be on that. I'm sure that it will be unanimous, because that's something we've needed, in this town. My only question is how much the total signs are going to be. But if we could, we've been discussing, if we could phase them in or something like that in some of those. But Yeah, you're exactly right about that, Eddie. The speed limit needs to be reduced. It really does. So, okay. Any other discussion on that for the residential? Okay, we look forward to talking that and looking for Eddie's ordinance on that. And now we're on to other business. Let's go. I've got one more item, but that I know of. You guys might have some, but we do. I have two items. One is about the paving. Jay had asked about our lane miles or what our totals were at this point. So
Yeah, so it's roughly, I want to say it's roughly 270 miles of roadway, and then that lane miles would be a factor of that. So,
Multiple,
mhm.
okay, thank you so much.
And then as far as the cost to pave a lane mile right now, it's right around 135,000.
Yeah.
Went up significantly.
Thank you so much.
yeah, people don't realize how expensive, that it is. It's unreal.
Are we making progress on paving?
We are. We did the number that you shared from the report. That was what was done in July. It was a little bit of a slow start, and then the milling machine was broken. So it's been we haven't gotten as much completed at this point as we'd like, but they are back in Hendersonville milling. So we'll move through our list. They'll get it done.
So Roger's paving.
That's right.
And they only got one machine dedicated for this area or something?
They have 2 milling machines. I believe that I can't fully speak to how they prioritize their work, but I would venture to say they probably prioritize TDOT work and then municipalities after that. So I'm going to say their milling machines probably on TDOT projects.
And the Rogers Group, we do a competitive bid, once a year for a year contract,
5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
Okay. And in that contract, do they have an escalation factor? I mean, how do they raise their rates, payment rates?
So they do not have an escalation factor. What they do have is built into the bituminous index. So when the market goes up and down for that, it automatically goes up or down. We have a set index in our contract, and then if it goes above that, then they recoup additional costs there. Under our last contract, when prices went up 30-50% on some of those items, they did request adjustments on like some structures and things like that. And so we reviewed those in comparison with TDOT unit prices, and we did grant an increase on some of those where it was justified.
So do we still think that is a competitive bid?
Yes. Yeah, I want to say we received 3 bids maybe.
Yeah, their number was way low.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were the most competitive.
Okay.
All righty, thank you. Well, that kind of gave us the status on what's going on with the paving, but as long as they're milling, that's a rough part right there, just getting that done and over with before they can start the actual work. So if they've got one machine or whatever we normally use, 1 or 2, I'll take one, need that wait and just keep things moving. That's the thing right now.
Yeah.
I just want to let, just in case, we had an email that we've kind of taken care of, at least for the first part, is the tar button or house on Meadow Lake. Is that correct? Meadow Lake. And I appreciate the mayor and Sarah working on that. And I hope those answers are satisfactory to them. But if, I'll make a phone call later on, probably sometime tomorrow, to them and see if they've got any questions or comments. But I appreciate you all taking care of that. And that's under the other business that I have. Does anyone else have any business?
No.
No.
I thought the survey was very instructive on
Oh, good.
What was it, infrastructure?
Yes,
That was well done.
it really was.
When does the website come on? The HIP website?
Today, I mean, it's there
Today? Okay, well, I looked yesterday or something, couldn't find it.
this
So
afternoon.
where do we find it?
So it's currently underneath the finance portion of the website's under finance.
Department? Under the finance.
Yeah, you click finance and it's one of the pages right there.
Perfect. It's good.
Yeah, it went live this afternoon. I think Jesse's planning to talk about it a little bit in BOMA.
Okay.
And then we'll make a big splash about it on social media too, to let people know where they can go and look for that. And the paving page is updated weekly as well, and it shows exactly
Right.
which roads are being milled each week and then paved
Yeah.
as I get information from Trace. So that's all there as well.
That's really good. I mean, thank you guys for doing that because we've really come really a far ahead on that. That has helped me as as a chairman and as an alderman too, because, I get calls all over the city, which I do not mind, from all the wards, but Dave, with that being, have more information on our website the way we do, it has reduced a lot of those calls.
That's great.
And so I just I can't thank you guys enough for that. Because people are starting to learn to do that,
I've started to notice that too, and it's great. We're
Yeah.
gradually training everybody where they can go and kind of help themselves with the information they need.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have to give a lot of the credit for a PIO, Public Information Officer, to Jonathan Hayes, if you're listening, Jonathan. But, Jonathan is the one that said that the city needs a PIO.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And so, man,
He was adamant about it.
Yeah, what a great addition that it has given for the dissemination of information and the receipt of information from citizens. So, good.
Thank you.
Good job.
Appreciate that very much.
All right. If we don't have any other discussion, I just need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
We've got a motion to adjourn, and we adjourned at 5:42.